Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
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 Can I just really quickly test Sheila's audio? And
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and I can see you.
Awesome.
How about AJ and Crystal? Are they on?
I saw AJ.
AJ, you on? Joe, you on?
Present.
All right. I will get started here. Excited to have everybody on. And Joe, if you can make sure that we get AJ on, and we will get them tested when they get on, to make sure that we can hear them. We got an exciting call scheduled for everyone today that allows us to really dig in to how folks are thriving and succeeding during these times. And so we wanted to start, as we always do. We've got a phenomenal moderator with us today in Sheila. And I wanted to start by just running through some of the stats. We've sort of made a commitment to keep everybody just sort of updated on the big picture. And so we're going to go from global, here are things going on today in the industry and with the health crisis. And then we're going to move into what does that mean and how do you guys think about some tips and approaches. I think we're going to actually get to role play a virtual listing appointment today. So really excited about the content that we have for everyone to get going on today. What I wanted to do is just start with a message. I've had the privilege of receiving these little love notes from Mo Anderson, and it's amazing to see sort of her as our cultural leader in the company really lean into ensuring and caring for us during this difficult time. And she recently sent a message that I thought was really interesting, and she relayed some of the experiences that she'd had as sort of a tenant farmer's daughter when tornadoes would whip through the plains in Oklahoma, and she and her family would go down into the storm shelter underneath their house, and then they would come out, and they would come out not knowing whether the crops that they'd planted for that entire year were still going to be there, not knowing whether their livelihood was going to be in place. And she talked about that experience, and she related it to both the determination to move forward and the sense of hope that they would have as they would stand on the step of that storm shelter and look out back across their crops and try and figure out what's going to be there. And she talked about how important it was to have that hope and to have that determination, regardless of what the result of the storm was. Sometimes the storm would have wiped out an entire season of planning and effectively destroyed their family's opportunity, and sometimes it wouldn't have. And so they had this determination that they would show up hopeful and yet determined to go forward no matter what happens. So this quote I thought was interesting to share with you. She says, "When you face a tough time, but keep on going. When you're discouraged and doubtful, but still show up. When you're not sure of what to do, but you give it your best anyway. You will, in the end, succeed. You just need to be willing to do whatever it takes." So there's your love note from Mo Anderson. Just quickly going to go through some updates and then turn it over to Sheila and to have her walk through with Crystal and AJ some of the things that they're doing. Want to quickly give you some COVID-19 updates. We just keep bringing you some of the stats for Maryland, Virginia, and we're working on getting some good stats on West Virginia. In Maryland, we're up to 15,737 cases, 680 deaths, starting to see people recover. Here in Virginia, which is our focus, we have almost 11,000 cases, 372 deaths. You can also see here a little bit about hospitalizations and availability of ventilators, which speaks to the strength of the medical system to be able to handle what's going on. And then at the bottom, you've heard a lot in these conversations about flattening the curve. And what they're doing at the bottom is they're showing the daily new cases that are being reported. And then the trend line is showing a 3-day average. So it can basically showing you, is this increasing? Is it flattening? Is it going down? And what you'll see when you look at this chart is that there's some indication that Maryland and DC might be flattening, but Virginia's actually still spiking. So in Virginia, that would suggest that we're still not through the woods. We're still not on the other side of this, and we got to be prepared for the next few weeks of what's to come. Just a quick update in real time because there's so much happening. As we've talked with many of you about the opportunity to take advantage of the SBA CARES Act and what's happening there. The PPP program, which was designed to help small businesses as well as independent contractors and sole proprietors. It was rolled out on April 3rd, and the first week was only focused on businesses, with the second week starting on the 10th was the ability for independent contractors and sole proprietors to apply. The initial $310 billion allocated to the program was exhausted within 13 days. There was a tremendous demand and rush and applications for this, which meant that many of the people that applied in this first round were unable to receive funds, especially our smaller businesses and folks that didn't have large established banking relationships. It's important to know that that was not lost on anyone. It was estimated that demand was closer to $1 trillion, not 300 billion. And over the past period of time, there's been a lot of debate and discussion about that. For all those of you who've applied who may not have received the dollars yet, or if you haven't applied, you should definitely apply. Yesterday, Tuesday, the Senate approved a bipartisan deal for another $484 billion in aid, which included another 300 and something billion for this program. It was passed last night by the House, and so now will move to be signed into law in the next day or so here. So what that means is there'll be funding available for another round of the PPP program. There was also some funding in that bill that would additionally add to the EIDL program, which some of you might be familiar with, which was another SBA program. I was on a conference call last night with a couple of congressmen that we have a relationship with. They spoke a little bit about what's been done here, which is where a portion of the dollars in this second tranche have been set aside to go to small banks, with the idea that that would help get more of this aid into the hands of smaller businesses that were a little bit shut out in the first round. I won't spend much more on that, but if you've already applied for an EIDL, some of those have been processed, some are still being processed. If you've already applied, you don't need to reapply. They are going to reopen the app. They closed the application process for that. They're going to reopen that. If you've already applied for a PPP loan through an SBA lender and you haven't been approved yet, this would be a very good time to be checking with your lender to make sure that they've completely underwritten what they have from you and that you're in the queue for the next, for this round. If you haven't done that yet, this would be the time to make sure that you reach out and find a PPP lender that could do that. What that program does is provide you with a loan that is forgivable. That loan equates to 2.5 months of your payroll. If you're an independent contractor, it's capped at $100,000. So if you're just a person, it would be capped at 2.5 months of up to $100,000 in earnings. And if it is used to pay payroll, or less than 25% of it could be used to pay approved rent or mortgage expenses that relate to your business, then it can be forgiven by your lender. So it effectively becomes a grant. So just want to keep people updated on that. and make sure that people are tracking that. We're also tracking in Virginia how the Unemployment Commission is dealing with unemployment claims. I'm hopeful that everyone on this call is still doing business and transacting, and that this is less important to them, but they have extended the unemployment benefits to add another $600 a week and to make independent contractors eligible for unemployment benefits. So it's something that you should look into if that applies to you. So I just wanted to kind of give you that quick update. Let me quickly check to make sure AJ and Crystal are on and we can hear them. You guys with us?
Good morning, we are here.
Good morning, great to see you guys. So we're gonna go to you in just a second. Last, I thought I would just share a little Kobe Bryant quote for the morning. Everything negative, pressure and challenges are all an opportunity to rise. And I think the conversation today is about how we take things that many perceive to be negative, maybe pressure, challenges, constraints that are on our business and on our lives today, and we transform those things into an opportunity to rise. So I'm really excited to turn it over to Joe, who's going to introduce our moderator and take us through the program.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks, Bo. Appreciate it. So we've got the pleasure of having one of our awesome team leaders in the Falls Church Market Center, Sheila Quadros, be our moderator today. And then I had the pleasure of getting to know Alan from the AJ team down in Lake Ridge. Haven't had the pleasure of meeting Crystal, but it's a dynamic pair down there, and I'm really excited to see from a mindset as well as what they're doing with virtual listing presentations. So ball's right over to you, Sheila, and rock and roll with it.
Awesome. Well, good morning, Virginia. How are you guys today? I'm glad to see so many smiling faces. I appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to show up and pour into yourselves during this difficult time. Today, I am honored to be with Alan and Crystal Johnson. They are a team in the KW Lake Ridge Market Center. Their production last year was 63 million, and they have some really powerful things to share with you guys today. So I hope you have paper and a pen because you're going to need to take some notes. Alan, Crystal, welcome. It's great to see you guys. Thank you for joining us and being here today.
Absolutely. Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Excited to be here.
Awesome. So let's start with, let's just talk a little bit about you guys. Tell us about your team, how long you've been in business, how many people you have on the team.
Awesome. I guess I'll go ahead and take the reins on that. Let's see. Actually, I was recruited by Alan, so I'll start with the history of Alan in real estate business. So he's been in the business, I guess we're going on a little over 18 years now. And he's always basically been an entrepreneur. I think he lasted in the real workforce for all but like, what, 3 months?
I got fired.
It was a 3-month gig. He realized that he could not be a technical writer. That wasn't his thing. And right from there, he decided to go straight into sales. And he started with car sales. And I'm sure he tells his story better than me, but I'm going to tell it faster because, you know, we don't have interest of time. So we're going to make sure we stay on time here. And he did car sales and was great with that for about 2 years. And, you know, he decided that he was going to go into real estate and has been in that business ever since. I actually came from a government contracting background. I spent 11 years working as an investigations regional director for some special programs with the federal government. And Alan recruited me when our company lost our contract. So I've been in the business now for about 6 years. And of course, before that, I was an investor with Alan and we did a lot of real estate investing. So today, the AJ team consists of 10 members, 3 on our admin team, 7 sales professionals. Our team is divided between buyer specialists and a lead listing specialist. It's a great team. We have a very much a family atmosphere. It's really about being a blessing to others and ensuring that we can support our mission of real estate because we do believe that it's ministry for us. So we are very tied in and secure in our faith and we let our faith lead our business.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, thank you. So when we spoke earlier this week, we talked about a couple of different topics that I wanted to go over today. And the first one I wanted to talk about was something that you called mind your mindset. So tell everybody, what does mind your mindset mean for you? And then how do you help your team with that?
Yeah, it's so piggybacking off of the Kobe Bryant quote that Bo shared. This moment is a challenging time. There's no doubt about it. But with every challenge comes a seed of opportunity, of equivalent opportunity. So the bigger the challenge, right, the bigger the opportunity. The smaller the challenge, the smaller the opportunity, right? I think we all understand this is a big challenge. So you can either look at the big challenge, right, and focus 100% on that, or you can look at the big opportunity, which is over here. And I specifically use the word seed because a seed may not produce fruit right now. But if you put that seed in the ground and you tend that seed and you do what you need to do with that seed, it can produce a large harvest the next season. And believe it or not, we're not far from the next season. I mean, the years, I don't know what happened after I turned 40, but the years just start going by like that. And the same thing with our real estate business. We're already into really almost the third quarter of production of your business, right? After the month of May, right? Everything that you do is going to be counted towards your third quarter. So the seasons of change are here. It's really about making sure that we understand that every day that you have to mind your mindset. If you're watching the news and you think you're going to be productive in real estate, it's not going to happen. If you're talking to the most negative friend that you have, it's going to tell you everything about doom and gloom, and you expect to have a business that's going to be productive, it's not going to happen. If you're hanging around a friend that eats nothing but Krispy Kremes and Duck Donuts, I got a good friend that owns Duck Donuts, and you expect for them to give you workout advice, it's not going to happen, right? So I think that we have to understand that we are in very sensitive times when it comes to the way we're fed information. My number one job, I got certain jobs. I got to be the best man that God wants me to be, right? I got to make sure that I go into that mindset, right? I got to be the best husband for my wife that I can be every day, because she's expecting me not only to lead this team, but to lead my household. I got to make sure my spirit is right. I got two beautiful girls that will run in here and ask for our help in the next 15 minutes. So y'all better not judge me, because I can't see your kids, but you're going to see my kids, right? So I've got to make sure that I'm the best person, the best father that I can be for my 9 and my 6-year-old. And then my team, like, they are depending on me to be their energy, to be their charge, because they're not getting the charge from everywhere. So I think that as leaders, and as not just as leaders, but as like agents who are leading our clients, like, what is your mindset going into a call? Are you picking up the phone as soon as you're turning off CNN or Fox News, right? Is that really the best time to be talking about a home inspection? Are you listening to your favorite music, right? And then picking up the phone. And it makes a world of difference. And it didn't matter when things were going great, because a great market will cover up any like mindset issues. But now it matters every minute.
I agree with you 100%. I think mindset is when you look at high achievers and people who have done things that are really high level and are truly successful, right? They check their mindset first. They make sure their mind is being fed with great things, great books, great podcasts, being around other great people. And I think you guys have done that at a really high level. And for me, and you keep God in the forefront of that. And that's something that I think is important as well. So the next thing that we talked about, I thought was super cool. It probably was the thing that I liked the most during our conversation, because I had no idea what it was when Joe first told me about it. It was rope-a-dope.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, what does rope-a-dope mean?
Rope-a-dope. All right, so I need people in the chat. How many of you guys have watched boxing before? Put in the chat if you watch boxing before, right? So put in the chat, of course, got it, watch it. So can you guys tell me where the quote, where the word rope-a-dope comes from? And can you tell me who he was fighting when he did the rope-a-dope?
All right, we got somebody.
Yeah.
It was it was Ali Foreman, right? And if you remember the fight, right? Everyone predicted that Ali wasn't going to win the fight. It was, and if you watch the documentary, the fight was delayed by 6 weeks. So like, it was like, there were so many things going on. Rainy season was coming, all that good stuff. And Ali goes into the fight as a heavy underdog, right? And everyone thought that he was going to have to be a better tactician, a better boxer than George Foreman, because George Foreman was this big bruising fighter, right? So his strategy was a strategy that he came up on his own with, and it was called the rope-a-dope. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to have this big bruising puncher out-punch himself. He wanted him to just survive the round. So he would just lean up against the rope, and he would let George Foreman just continue to throw these bombs at him, and it would be glancing off of him, and it glance off of his shoulder, and he had to eat some of them too, right? But in the end, this big beast was worn out, and he ended up knocking him out, right? So during this time, like, let's not diminish, or let's not acknowledge the fact that we got some heavy punches coming at us, right? But what I need you guys to do is I need you guys to lean up against that rope. I need you to lean up against that rope. I need you to take some of those punches, some of those clients that want to back out of that deal because they're scared, some of those title companies that aren't doing what they're supposed to do, some of those lenders that are giving you bad news. I need you to just lean up against that rope and let that punch just fly off of you. And you may have to eat some punches that are going to hurt. But if you just survive, if you just find a way to survive, you are going to knock this beast out, right? He's going to be tired. He's going to throw every punch he's got, right? And you are going to have a win for the ages, right? So when I wrote rope-a-dope, it just kind of reminded me that, you know, I need to warn our agents that, look, it's not going to be easy over the next couple of weeks, but you can survive, right? If we have certain strategies, if we're all aligned, if we understand what, you know, why we got into this business in the first place, we're going to survive, and we're going to end up knocking them out.
I have heard a lot of different analogies to explain what's going on in our world. And I can't tell you that that one happened to be the most powerful one that I heard. Like you were just speaking directly to me. I know there's a lot of people on this call, right? But the first time you said it, and now now I got the visual, because before we were just on the phone.
Right.
Like, you're speaking to me, that resonates with me. That makes sense to me. And so I hope somebody else takes away something from that too, because that was the best analogy so far. Nobody's got you beat. I'm just saying, you're good.
Look, I'll tell you, I've heard this one, I don't know, at least a dozen times. And every time I'm like, yes, I'm ready. Put me in, boss. I want to go to the match. So it's awesome.
It gets you hyped up because the ending says it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to be okay.
Right.
And I think that that's the message that people need to hear right now is, like you said, we're going to get beat up a little bit in the middle, but at the end, we're going to come out of this better for having been through it, without a doubt.
And you'll be a legend in the end, right?
Yeah.
You will be a legend in the end. Like, people are going to remember the one thing I think I want people to remember. Can you put in the chats if you guys were in business in 2008? So if you were in business in 2008, put it in the chat. Just say me, yes, all that good stuff. Let me, okay, got it. Okay, so we got a lot of people. Do you guys remember what the news said in 2008 as it came to real estate? Do y'all remember what the news said? Put in the chat what the news said. Housing market crash, doom and gloom, every channel. Like, there were these foreclosure signs, and they didn't even have the nice foreclosure signs. They had the ones that were hanging off the bottom of the sign. Like, literally, like, they were telling us that there was no way for us to be able to continue in this business. And I see a bunch of people that are still survivors. Now, all those people that have not been in the business, I want you to reach out to those people that are in the chat and ask them how they survived 2008, because I guarantee that they got a lot of lessons that you need to hear. They got a lot of things that the news is not telling you. Let's think about this. 2008 was a housing crash. The crash was related to housing, right? This crash is not related to housing, right? Now, it's going to affect our housing market, but it was not derived through housing. So we're going to have some adjustments. Yes, some things are going to change, But like literally, like if you survived 2008 and it was a housing crash, believe me, you're gonna survive 2020.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Awesome. So the other thing we talked about were different business tips that you were going to give. So you were going to give some business tips before we get into how you do your virtual listing. Talk it out.
Oh, tips.
Tips. Yep.
Okay. So business tips. So don't drink while you're talking to your client.
That wasn't for you.
No.
List.
Number one is study the market. I think it's very important. We have data that most people don't have. So what I like to look for as far as with my clients is I like to look at what's going under contract, right? Because we don't know right now the price of homes what's going to be the price of homes. So we don't know whether the market's going to adjust in price or not, right? I suspect that it's going to adjust a little bit, but we don't know. What I can tell my clients is the amount of homes that have gone under contract in a certain period of time compared to another certain period of time. So what we've been really doing is educating our clients on the first week of March compared to the first week of April. First week of March, it was like a normal week, right? Nothing was going on. Everyone was stuck in 95 traffic. Like everything was cool. Like it was all good. But the second week, the first week of April, it was doom and gloom. And if you notice, if you just look at all the markets that touch the DMV, I think what you'll find is that there are just as many homes that are went under contract during that first week of April as compared to the first week of March. And you all need to do your individual area, right? And I think what you'll find is that'll give you confidence that the market is still moving, right? Because sometimes we're stuck in our little silo and like, I'm not selling a house. Well, there are some people that are selling houses, and sometimes that's the kick that we need in our pants. Number two, no stupid mistakes, right? So this month we had 7 contracts fall out, right? And 4 of those contracts, I feel as a leader, were on me because I should have and could have trained our agents better to train our clients, right? And what I told my clients, our agents, were the things that you could get away with in a good market are the things that are going to get exploited in a market like this. So we need to make sure that we don't make stupid mistakes, right? And look, you're going to make mistakes, but stupid ones we can't make, right? We can't have any when we're filling out forms, no typos. Everything has to be correct. When we say we're going to send something over to the client, we got to do those things at the point in time we're going to do it. When you're when you're coming into a presentation, a listing presentation, make sure you're as prepared as possible. Don't just get in front of the camera, 2 minutes before you're doing your listing presentation. You could spend 30 minutes listening to something positive and listen to going over your scripts. There are ways that we can actually prepare ourselves better during these times. You need to do that. What else did I have? I said understand your weakness. All right, so speak to your audience often. All right, so how many of you guys are speaking to your audience right now? The people that you have, bless you. Are you speaking to your audience right now? You're literally like putting out videos to the people that you know every week. All right, and be honest with yourself. Have you been speaking to your audience? Okay, all right. So when I put out a video, and I'm on Facebook, you guys can follow me on Facebook, Alan Johnson. I put out at least 2 videos every week, right? And I'm speaking to our clients about stats, right? I'm speaking to our clients about the market, right? But I'm also speaking to our clients in my authentic voice, right? My goal is not to go out and get everybody. My goal is to get my people, right? So every time that I'm going out speaking, right, I'm only looking at getting one of our clients, right? So I figure if I put 2 videos out, right, over the next 8 weeks, right, and 16 videos over the next 8 weeks, and if I can get 16 referrals or 16 people that will call me, I win. And that's been the cadence. Every time I put a video out, I get a call from someone who has a question. You have to find the way that your audience is going to listen to you. For me, it's been Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. For you, it may be recording your video on your phone and sending it to your client, sending the same videos to all your clients. It may be that you are good on Facebook and you can speak to them. But what I'm finding is that there's so many agents that are radio silent right now. Like they are literally saying nothing. And I don't think that that's the best place for anyone to be right now. What else? Oh, speaking to your audience. So what we did that was pretty cool. We reached out to a couple of social workers and a couple of schools, and we found that there were a lot of families in need. And I think as real estate agents, we ask our community to serve us so much. This is our moment in time to serve our community, okay? We are quick to call our database. We are quick to call our database. I will repeat it again. We are quick to call our database to ask them for something. It is our moment in time as connectors in our community to connect those that have and those that don't have, right? And I will tell you, this is a quote that I wrote really early in this pandemic. The businesses that will survive are the businesses that have poured into their community. So when the tide flips, your community now has something to pour back into you. So I'm gonna let that simmer and I'm gonna say it again. The businesses that tend to survive and thrive during this time are the businesses that have poured into their community. And now their community has something to pour back into them. It is not too late for any of you on this call to pour into your community. If you got internet access, if you got food, if you have the ability to be able to go do business, then you have the ability to bless someone who does not have, right? You have the ability to bless someone who does not have. I will tell you, if you are stuck in a rut right now, if you're not getting the business that you're supposed to get, go help somebody and watch how God honors that.
Pause for effect. That was super powerful, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. It is the time for us to show up. It is the time for us to show up and be human. I say it to my agents all the time, right? Reach out, find ways to help, pour back in, and realize that it'll come back to you, right? Tenfold, it always does.
Yeah.
But we're called to do something for people right now, I believe. And I, whew,
Yeah.
All right, you got me going. You got me going. You got me
I
going.
think a lot of time, right, we all are fearful of our resources or having a lack of resources. Sometimes being a community leader is not about you having the resources for yourself to input. It's about call to arms, right? How do you get the people in your network to donate $5, $10, $20 so you can service 5 to 6 families a week, right? Those things are easy to do. It's just that someone has to lead the charge, right? And that should be you if you want to be that person in your community. So just don't be afraid of not feeling like you have the funds, like you can't do it. Go lead the charge, and the funds will come to you.
Yeah, Jesus fed 5,000 with 2 loaves, with 2 fish and 5 loaves, or 5 loaves and 2 fish. I'm not a minister, but we all have something to give, right? We all have something that someone needs, and I just feel like right now, like this is your moment to be the glue in your community, and if we can really focus on those database calls around that type of thing, right? That call is very different when you're like, hey, ring, ring, how you doing? Hey, I really have started really connecting with our community. We really want to we found some need. And I really want to see if, maybe you got a gift card that you want to donate, right? Because I'm going to the local school, or I'm going to, to the homeless shelter, I'm going to drop it off. And it's funny, man, people are waiting to help. There are people at home, they just don't know how. Mm-hmm. Like, that is our job. Like, that is our job. You want that person to refer you that listing that's coming up around the corner. You want them to refer you that buyer that they know. They're going to refer the person that they feel has the greatest heart, the person who has approached them in a way that can move the community. If this call was for anyone, I want someone to move your community in a way that God put you specially in place to move.
I love it. Thank you so much, Alan. Crystal, that is so awesome. All right, so now we're going to get into the big subject that everybody wants to know about because they're all petrified of the new world that we have entered, the world that we have entered that you guys have been in and been successful at for over 4 years, which is fantastic. So virtual listing appointments. When we talked, there's a couple of steps that happen for you guys prior to the listing appointment to make sure that the listing appointment itself is a success. So let's talk through some of the prep work, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. First, what I will say is that we started doing virtual listing appointments, gosh, I guess maybe about 2 years ago or so, where we were really consistent with it. And it just was bred out of a whole thing of, we have a lot of clients who are either military or they're stationed abroad, they work for the State Department, things of that nature, or their schedules just could not mesh with the husband and the wife. And clearly, you know how terrible our traffic is here. So, that was a factor. And we started going this route of doing virtual listing appointments via Zoom, which is crazy because we just like, well, you know what, we need to make sure that we are agile enough, that we have the flexibility to be able to bring our clients what they need most, which is they want to meet with us. Why are we putting them in this bucket of saying, no, you must come to our office and we have to talk? And there's reasons for that. I know why we do that in our business, but there's also time for us to change. So now the time has forced us to change, right? So for those of you who haven't gotten on board, you have to get on board ASAP. And the way that we do things now is a lot different than what we did when we first got started. So just start somewhere and don't feel like you have to have all of these things in place to make it work. But first and foremost is that, clearly I know that everyone has their process for how they go about intake of a new appointment, right? So we do our appointment process and we make sure that we have all the data that we need. A lot of that data is anything that we know is going to help us to be able to win that client over in that consultation. So we want to know about their family. We want to know their motivation for why they're moving. We're going to get all the information we need to get about their house. Where are they going? Just all those little particular details that will help when our listing specialist is having a conversation to feel like they're very connected to that family, okay? Typically, once the appointment is set, we will send out an email and a video that lets them know that, hey, it's great to meet you. I just want to put a face with the name. And then we send them our pre-appointment virtual presentation. And what that is that pre-appointment goes through our process of getting a house listed. So it's more of the specific steps that the AJ team takes to make sure that when you're ready to go to market, what it is like to sell your home, a couple of just tips and things of that nature. We save all the other meat and potatoes in terms of pricing and analysis and things of that nature for the actual live listing consultation. So they'll get that first video, which is their custom marketing plan. That's what we call it. The custom marketing plan will come out via BombBomb, or you can use whatever thing that you have. I'm not getting paid by BombBomb, so no worries there. And we send that out 2 days before the appointment. We don't want to send it out too further because we don't want them to lose and forget what they were supposed to do. So we send that out. So it's about 15 to 20 minutes. It's already pre-recorded. Honestly, hopefully no clients are listening. We probably record it twice a year. Once is Alan, who's wearing like summer clothes, and the next one he's wearing fall clothes. So he's basically sending out the same video. Let's just be honest, right? It's the same. It doesn't take a lot of work. Like he's already recorded the video. We're doing it on Zoom. It's a whole presentation, and he's talking at them as if it's made and tailored just for them, right? They usually get a chance to review that. So that way, when we go into the actual consultation, we are really focusing on, number one, establishing a very deep rapport. Alan probably spends, when he's doing the consultation, about 10 minutes just diving in on a personal level. Just asking them about how they're doing, especially in the midst of the crisis. We're just sharing jokes, right? Because they're like, yeah, my kids are everywhere. We're just making the same kind of conversation. Just really establishing a rapport, getting to know them, understanding where they're from, their background, and all that good stuff. And then that way we can just spend another 20 to 30 minutes focusing in on the details about their property and their home and pricing. And once we do that, we typically will follow up immediately and try to get the listing paperwork out for a signature. Like, we don't give them a lot of time to think about anything. So the biggest difference in terms of going to someone's house and doing a live presentation, that usually you can have your paperwork with you right there for them to sign, where virtually you don't have that luxury. So the goal is that the paperwork is already completed and we are getting them to commit, and we send that paperwork to them very presumptively, like, yeah, here we are, we're ready to move forward. And when you do that, then you don't find as much as a lag in between getting people to commit to working with you. Okay. So those are the steps. It is simple. Of course, it gets a little bit more detailed, and clearly we'll share more if people have questions. But the biggest thing really is just making sure that when you do that initial consultation, you get all the details that you need. And I would do that pre-video, the like custom marketing plan, so you can get all the weeds out of the way, right? And so you can really just focus on what people really want to know about, which is, how do I price my house? What's going great in the market, and why now is a good time?
Yeah. I got a question for you guys. How many of you guys have a listing presentation? Just put in the chat. And if you don't have a listing presentation, it's okay. Tell me if you have a listing presentation. Okay. All right, good. And if you don't, it's okay. Put no, I don't have one in there. I'm just trying to get a good pulse as to how many people don't have a pre-listing presentation. What's up, Jeff Wu? Greg Rowland. I know a lot. You got some good people on this phone, on this call. The best way to record your pre-listing video is to basically take your listing that you have, right? Put it on the screen and talk to the slides. That's all I do, literally. That's it, right? So all I do is I'm just saying, hey, how you doing? How are you folks doing, right? Because folks means that I'm speaking to everybody, right? How y'all folks doing? All right, I pray all is well. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you how we sell homes, So I'll go through the listing presentation, and all I will do is just talk to my slides. This is what we do to help people sell homes. These are the things that, and at the end of the 15 minutes, someone asked how long is the video? It's 15 minutes. Just record it on Zoom. 15 minutes, you may have to record it 7 times to get it right? It doesn't mean that it needs to be perfect, right? But if you can just record it, my goal is that if they've watched the video, I do not have to talk about how we sell homes during the listing presentation, right? All I'm doing is focusing. My first question after rapport is, okay, did you guys have any questions about how we sell homes? Because what I want to get into today is I want to get into pricing, make sure I get your questions answered, and logistics. And do not overproduce the video. Don't overthink it. If you don't have a listing presentation, Sheila, I got a question. Didn't Gary Keller or didn't KW give like a generic listing presentation to everybody?
Absolutely, it's in designs.
Yeah, just do that. Just do that. You don't have to recreate the wheel here. You just need to get something.
Yeah, and the only thing that I would add on to that is, so the video is pre-recorded. The reason why we use BombBomb is because we want to track if they opened and viewed it. And the great thing about it is, one of the things that we found, and the reason why we really started going towards virtual a few years ago, is because we would find that when we were negotiating, price reductions, that we were having a hard time to make people understand why they need to reduce their price. So you can have a conversation on the phone with someone about reducing their price, and they just aren't getting it. We started doing all of our price reduction conversations via video and doing a screen share of our market stats and what we were comparing their house to. And we started sending that out via BombBomb. Of course, we can see that they watched it. They would watch that video 10 times, call us back in 30 minutes and say, yep, let's drop our price. And it was like, what? They just needed to hear it at their pace. So what was happening was, we were talking and we didn't realize that it was taking them a longer time to digest that information over the phone. Whereas you put it on video, all of a sudden people are digesting that information at their own pace. And then they're like, oh, it makes perfect sense, right? So that's the same thing that we've taken with this listing, the pre-marketing video, right? When we send that out first, they're at their own pace, able to really go through and analyze what it is that we're doing. We all know that when we're in listing consultations, we're trying to get that thing over fast, right? So sometimes we're our own worst enemy, right? We're going so fast that we aren't getting people an opportunity to really see the great things that we're doing. Where when you put the video out, they get to look at it at their own leisure, at their own pace. They can pause it. They can go back like, okay, that makes sense. I love that aspect of it. And then we do it in BombBomb because we can see how many times. And literally we see that people are watching the video 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times before they even meet with us. So we're like, oh, they got it. They understand it. And so that makes things move along a little bit more rapidly. And 2, that makes sure your client really gets an idea of what it is you're bringing to the table, and your value now makes more sense. Now you're not negotiating all the time on your commissions, right? They understand the value you're providing. If you're going too fast through your value, they don't get it, right? So That's the power of doing it via video.
Awesome. Thank you. Quick question for you. You talked about putting up the slides and kind of going through the slides. Are you showing them the slides?
Yep.
Or are you just talking to them? Okay, awesome.
So it's just like we're doing right now. So, like when you have presenter mode, clearly your face is the biggest face on the screen. Your computer, so your slides are the biggest face and your little icon is in the corner and you're just talking to the slides. So they're hearing your voice leading them through the information, right? And then the great thing is they're sitting there, they're taking notes. So when they come to the listing consultation, they can ask questions.
Right.
Great. And so at the listing consultation, because you're virtual, how do you see the house? What do you do about features and stuff like that?
So the key to that, two things. Number one,
Got your own head,
number one, I think that really is a mindset shift. Like if you're a great agent, you should kind of know like range of what a house is worth without you actually seeing it. And then also, I think you need to do good research. So if they've sold a home over the past 10 years, 15 years, you can go back into MLS and look at pictures. I think the depth of your questions matter.
During
so
intake.
The depth of your questions during intake matters. So asking them what they did to the house, and then just your level of research, making sure that you do the research prior to you getting to the listing presentation. And of course, there's some things you need to see or a client's going to make you want to see. But I would say, honestly, probably about 25% of our clients are like, I really want you to come see my house. And it's probably less than that, probably
less than that.
10% that are like, oh man, I really want you to come see my house because it's something that they want me to see. But it's, I just think that, if you're just really using all the data that you have, you should be giving them a range anyway of what their house is worth. And I think the most powerful question, what I do when we get into the listing presentation so I've already shown them how we sell their house. So for your pre-listing presentation, the number one question that you should be answering is will they have a question about how you sell a home, right? The intake, we should know why they're selling the home, right? And then when we get into the listing presentation, all I'm really doing is I'm going through the numbers. I'm literally pulling up Bright. I'm going through the houses that have shown. I'm taking them through the pictures. And the most powerful question I found is, okay, based off of what you've seen, how much do you think your house is worth? And I shut up, right? And if someone comes in too high, I laugh and I'm like, haha, you're super aggressive. I get it. I love it. I love an aggressive buyer, aggressive seller. But oftentimes they can figure it out. They're going to lowball. They're going to lowball their house a little bit, right? So they're going to say, oh, it's probably worth 500. And then I get to break the great news to them. It's probably worth 505. It's probably worth 510. But if you allow them to answer the question about what their house is worth, it kind of, you get what, you don't have to wonder if the number that you give them is going to be something they're going to be satisfied with.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing that I would add is that Alan's absolutely right. When you want to know what someone's house is like, it's all in the intake. So make sure you go 3 layers deep on your questions. Like your questions have to be really, really deep, go way beyond the surface. The second part of what we do, so even when sometimes someone wants us to come out to the house, a lot of the reason why, because they just want us to be able to tell them what they need to do to get it ready. And that's where your stager comes in, right? That's really where your stager. So we'll pay for a consult of a staging to help them get their house ready for the market, right? Doesn't mean they need furniture or any of those things. It just means that they just need someone to come in and tell them what to declutter, right? And we can do that as well. So it's just, you have to really get out of your own mindset of thinking that people want you to do certain things. So that's not really what they want. What they really want is help. They want direction. They understand that as a professional, right, you're giving them your expertise on pricing and marketing and things of that nature. It's not really your role to go in and tell them how to redecorate.
You're off now.
You're either a decorator or you're not, right? So you got to figure out what your role is. And then that way you can serve them the best way that you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So how many houses over the last year did you guys list and sell virtually? Ballpark.
Oh man, so
Over the past, let's just say over the past like
12 months.
a couple months, let's say since the beginning of the year, 25 maybe?
25. So the reason I bring that up is because I know there are a lot of people that are kind of stuck right? In that old mindset, in that old way of thinking. And they're like, oh, you have to go to the house. And I want everybody to see that as the world changes, not just through this pandemic, but as media comes into play more in video and we move in a new direction, people have to change and move with that. Otherwise, they're going to be left behind. So if you're one of those people that's out there saying, oh, I could never do that, try it. Try it. When Alan and I talked, so when I sold houses in North Carolina, I did a ton of these. I didn't go to my listings. Like, I very rarely saw any house I put on the market. Like, I did everything like this. This is the way we did it. So when I got here and everybody was going to listings, I was like, oh, that's different. Okay, we're gonna have to change how we do it, because they don't like that around here. Change is good. Change is okay. Time-wise, you guys are probably more efficient because of the systems that you put into place and being able to do this, which means you can service more people, right? So
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
and I think it's an advantage. If you guys are, all right, so you younger agents out there, y'all youngins out there, I'm gonna talk to y'all. Use your advantage, right? Your advantage is that you can use technology, right? If you don't think that our business is moving towards more technology, then I think you're fooling yourself, right? So use your strength, use your superpower. And the agents that are a little bit more seasoned, you should be positioning yourself to say, hey, look, I've been through a crash before. Like, I've been through what you're about to go through before, right? So I think we all have to use what our skill is when we're sitting in front of a client. And the most important question people ask about intake, when we're doing our intake, Crystal is generally, or our admins are doing intake. The most powerful question that we ask during intake is, what are the 3 things that you're looking for in the agent that's going to help you sell your home? What are the 3 things that you are looking for in an agent that's going to be selling your home, right? So we ask that question during intake. I've got it written down. So guess what I'm speaking to when I'm doing our listing presentation? Most people say honesty. They say they want someone who's experienced. They say they want someone who's really, a marketing guru or whatever. So I'm going to speak to those things when I'm doing my listing presentation. I'm gonna say, look, I think you appreciate someone who's 100% honest with you. And they're like, damn, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Well, I asked them that question like 48 hours ago, right? I want someone who's a super experienced. Okay, well, great. I know you're probably going to be interviewing with other agents and they may not be as experienced. Here's the number 1 question I want you to ask that agent. I want you to ask that agent if they've ever sold during a turbulent time. I'm just setting up what was most important to them, right? So just something to think about.
Awesome, great insight, great information. I appreciate you guys tremendously. Before we wrap up, there is one other thing that I am going to do, and it is an absolute shameless plug for you, AJ. You have written a book, have you not?
Did I write a book? I wrote a book. Of course I wrote a book. Everybody gets a book. You get a book, I get a book, everybody gets a book. Yeah, no, seriously, I wrote this book, 50 Things That Your Real Estate Agent Should Tell You But Probably Won't. 100% of the proceeds go to our Be a Blessing Foundation that is proactively going out and blessing our community. We've been running a mentoring program at a local Title I school. I just felt like a lot of the lessons that I learned was something that I should pass on. If you haven't figured it out, that the one thing my dad's taught me to do is to give, and a lot of knowledge from 2008 is in this book. I know a lot of agents that I know have read this book. We're using it as a training manual for our agents, and I just hope you guys get a blessing and just understand when you pay for this book, it's blessing someone that might not have the opportunity to live a life that we all live.
I think that was fantastic. I love that you guys had put it into a book so that you can share with people. I ask, if you are on this call, it would be well worth the donation for you guys to jump onto Amazon. I put the link in the chat. Please just copy and paste it into your browser. I promise it's not going to break the bank, but it's going to bless somebody today. And I think that would be a blessing for Crystal and Alan to know that we are supporting them and their nonprofit organization. So amazing information today. I cannot tell you how happy I was to be the moderator for you guys, because I think you brought it huge. I know that chat was going crazy with people, super excited about the information that they were hearing from you guys. I took a ton of notes myself, and I know that people are going to go out there, they're going to sell virtually, and they're going to thank you for telling them how to do it.
No doubt, no doubt.
All right, guys, thanks everybody for just joining us today. We really hope that this information was beneficial, like that it really is something you can take action on now that's going to change how your business runs today and for the future. So, you know, we just had a pleasure just sitting here and be able to talk to all of you today. So go out there and kill it.
Yeah. One more thing. Do you mind if I pray for everyone's business on this call real quick? Okay, awesome. Oh Lord, we come to you today thankful and honored that we can just invoke just your spirit in any and everything that we do. We know that everyone out there desires to have a business that serves the community, that serves their family. Lord, we ask that they found something today that can ignite something in them that just lamplights the world. Allow them to walk out with boldness. Allow them to walk out with confidence, knowing that you are with them in any and everything they do. All these things we pray in your son's name. Amen.
That's right. God, business, family. Make it great.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So on behalf of the Virginia region, we want to thank both of you for being here. You were amazing. And I'm going to turn it back over to Bo.
So I'm going to jump in here. So thanks, AJ. Thank you, Crystal. Thanks, Sheila. And to close us out, I've got Dante Carroll, the #1 face in radio, to close us out for the Virginia region.
Hey, I want to thank you guys as well for an awesome presentation. Sheila, I could listen to you read the phone book and be excited. So thank you for facilitating a powerful conversation with AJ and Crystal. You guys, I want to just encapsulate what I think I heard from you in terms of like a marching order, if you will, for the group of real estate professionals that we have on this call. Mindset, skill set, action. It all begins with what happens between these two ears. And if we get that right and we work on the skill set, and this is a great time to build those skills that allow you to reap the harvest of what happens on the other side of where we are. So I appreciate you guys imparting that kind of wisdom with this group. And as Bo would typically do, since I'm substituting for him today, he's going to close, or I'm going to close with a quote, one of my favorites from Henry Ford. And it reads, "Coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success." And what this kind of call with this group of people demonstrates is how if we work together to build our skills, to keep our mindset where it needs to be, then we will take the requisite actions to take our unfair share of the real estate opportunity, not challenge, that exists in a time like this. So thank you guys. Everybody have a wonderful weekend. Joe, thank you for being our technical AV guy. Sheila, thank you for being a fantastic host. And we wish you guys the best of the weekend and the balance of a great Friday. So take care.
Thanks.